Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and you're all very welcome to the Clybaun Hotel here this evening. It's great to see such a fantastic turnout for a triple launch tonight, would you believe. We have the launch of the Galway Autistic Trail and also the launch of the Four Peaks Challenge. Both of those initiatives you're going to hear a bit in depth later on from Fergus and from Robbie. And we also, the main reason we're here tonight is the launch of Galway City Autism Friendly. Before we get into all of the speakers and the special guests here tonight, just to give people a snapshot of, I suppose, what my role is in AsIAM. I'm the Inclusive Communities Network Coordinator. So essentially, I'm the National Coordinator for Autism Friendly Towns and Cities and Villages right across the nation. So if anyone is visiting here tonight, I believe I met a gentleman from Athlone actually who's come down tonight. He's heard about the momentum building in Galway and all the great work that's being done right across the city and the county indeed. Do come and grab me after the proceedings, and if you'd like more information, I'm your point of contact there if you'd like to start up a committee and get your town plan up and running. And again, we'll hear about that from our CEO and founder, Adam Harris, later on. But without further ado, let me introduce you to our first speaker tonight, to get the ball rolling, the Lord Mayor of Galway City, Eddie Hoare.
Thanks, William, and thanks for the kind invitation to be with you here today. Dormina Magat Session Carave, Joe and Yo, August is more an honour than Marmira Carna Valuga. It's my great honour and privilege to be here this evening for, like you touched on, the launch of three very important initiatives. Firstly, I'd like to welcome Minister Anne Rabbitte, Minister of State for Disabilities. I'd like to welcome Luke Flanagan, MEP, and also my own councillor colleague, Councillor Claudia Higgins, and I believe Councillor Imelda Byrne will be with us also later this evening. Tonight, like we touched on, is a really, really special occasion. An event where we launched three really, really important initiatives. The Galway Autistic Trail, the Four Peaks Challenge, and the Galway City Autism Friendly. To touch on some of the great work that's been done by lots of great people in the room here tonight, William spoke on behalf of AsIAM, and I just want to acknowledge and recognise the great work that AsIAM are doing, led out by Adam Harris. You've a real inspiration for what you've done for autism in Galway, right across Ireland, and your message has been spread long and far. I think it's inspirational to hear your brother Simon, now Taoiseach, speaking on his biggest occasion, being elected Taoiseach of this great country, and he said you were his inspiration for getting involved in politics and promoting a strong voice for you. Obviously, through AsIAM, you're a real, like I touched on, real inspiration for children, for families, and for so many people impacted with autism all over Ireland. So I think you deserve a real big round of applause for the great work. Here locally in Galway, Ability West, I've been at lots of events and seen firsthand some of the great work that Ability West is and continues to do within the region, within the Galway area. So I'd like to welcome the representative from Ability West and thank you for the great work that you continue to do for disability services here in Galway City. Again, just to touch on, like we said, some of the initiatives today. I think Fergus Farrell and Robbie Kavanagh, in conjunction with Lorraine Cribbins, he deserves great praise for the foresight you've shown in terms of raising the awareness through the events that you're running and the Four Peaks Challenge. Climbing four of our biggest peaks in Ireland over 24 hours, 4 peaks in 4 different provinces, doing it voluntarily to raise awareness and to raise much needed funds for autism. So you need to be commended for that, and I'd just like to say thank you for that. To Lorraine Cribbins and everyone involved in your hotel group, I think you need to be acknowledged and recognised for the great work that you're doing in promoting an autistic friendly environment within all your hotels, I know David's here tonight with us as well on behalf of the hotel. But Lorraine here on the Galway side, you're leading it out with Fergus and Robbie. When I came in this evening, I saw the cubby inside the door, and it's lovely to see just that endorsement of an initiative and putting an investment into your premises to make it more autistic friendly for those coming here to stay. And I think you've rolled out the cubby over 160 premises across Ireland. So again, the team involved at cubby, you need to be commended and recognised for a really good initiative, a really good business model, and well done on that. To Minister Anne Rabbitte, in your portfolio as Minister for Disabilities, I think you've given so much to this sector. You need to be commended. The government investment that's gone in can be seen firsthand, and you've led out on that. You're passionate about it. We've seen your announcement last Friday, a really big endorsement here in Galway, in this region, and I think, Minister, you deserve great credit, and you need to be thanked for that endorsement and that investment and that support, so thank you. From our own perspective, and I speak on behalf of my colleague Cllr Higgins, who served as Mayor last year and was a real strong champion for initiatives to promote a more inclusive, more diverse Galway City for all children and for everyone here within our city and visitors. Jason Cromwell and the Galway Sports Partnership, well done, Jason, on the great work that you do and continue to do in making, opening up the environment for everyone, the inclusivity of everyone in sports. I think that's really, really important. My colleague, Councillor Imelda Byrne, who's listed to speak here, and again, she's the Access Officer in University of Galway. Imelda, again, has been a champion for inclusivity, for access for all, and she's a really, really great leader, and I'm really proud to call her a colleague of mine. Galway City Council, some of the initiatives that we've led out on in terms of rolling out communication boards in all of our playgrounds, making them more inclusive. We've opened up a sensory room in the West Side Library and hopefully roll it out to other libraries across Galway. But we do need to do more, and I acknowledge that and recognise that more needs to be done. As Mayor, I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate to get that commitment. And I know through working with government departments that the funding is there, and we need to just push that positive message. Making Galway City autism friendly, like your motto says, embracing every mind, welcoming every heart. It's empowering to see that message being spread, and I, as Mayor, want to keep spreading it, and I'll do that on behalf of the citizens of Galway as long as I'm in office, as will my councillor colleague Cllr Higgins and other members of Galway City Council, to make sure that Galway is a place we're proud to live in ourselves, but for people to welcome, for people to visit, but also for families with people suffering with autism, that they can come and embrace Galway and enjoy all the amenities and facilities, beaches, playgrounds and otherwise, and that's the way it should be. So Gormila Magat, best of luck tonight, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor, and I think we were just speaking beforehand tonight, we were just saying, look, I think everybody in Ireland knows how welcoming Galway City is on a day-to-day basis, whether you live here or you come to visit in summertime, you come for the Christmas markets, and I think you'll hear more later tonight about our programme, the Galway City Autism Friendly Programme, that it's all about accessibility, it's all about breaking down barriers, and it's all about ensuring that young autistic people, autistic families can come and enjoy Galway City, and that those accommodations are put in place, and that champions come on board with our committee, businesses, organisations, public services, and that more and more accessibility in Galway City. So without further ado, our next speaker is Minister Anne Rabbitte.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much to Lorraine for the invite to be here this evening to join yourselves. It is a privilege to be on the stage, and thank you very much, Mayor, for all of your kind words. And I want to acknowledge all the public reps, Clodagh, Imelda and Luke, who are here along with yourself, Mayor. I was just trying to make notes as you were going down through all of what you were saying earlier on in your introduction there, and I was going, yes, why wouldn't everybody coming to Galway have the same chance? The same chance to access our hotels, our public spaces, the same chance to access our beautiful, welcoming city. So if it's a city of 1,000 welcomes, it should be a city of 1,000 welcomes for all. Everybody should have the same accessible chance. And to be honest with you, I'm as good as the people I work with as a Minister of State, and for the last number of years I have worked very closely with AsIAm. in the ideas of what we can do better. And to be very fair to Adam, he has shown me the direction as to how I can do it and what needs to be done. And I suppose really it all started with a telephone line that we were very fortunate that the HSE funded us on a pilot basis, but that telephone line showed us one thing. It showed us that actually not everything was about assessments. It was about education, it was about employment, it was about housing. And it wasn't just all about children, it was about adults as well. It was about children trying to get into higher level colleges, early years. So from the telephone line, the data was able to be produced as to what the next steps should be. And I suppose we were very fortunate, looking at some of the ladies in the room that joined us when we were in Loughrea a few weeks ago at the AAC devices announcement. In actual fact, we've managed to purchase more AAC devices in conjunction with AsIAm, with the help of the department, that are being purchased at the moment by the Department of Education, the HSE alone. So that just says to you what we are, where we're trying to drive the change through. And it's no point in having an AAC device, which is a form of communication. For any of you who mightn't know in the room what the AAC device is, I didn't know what it was 3 years ago, to parents on Twitter sending me the receipts to say this is what it costs, and then it actually what it can do. And I'm delighted to say that the AAC device will allow actually training for those that have it, but it also will have pathways as well for new families to be able to get on board. And finally, last week, it's great to get AsIAm out of Dublin. And not only to break the barrier of the M50, but we broke the barrier of the Shannon and we brought them right west to here. So it was, to be honest with you, the 10th anniversary was a real key driver to ensure that AsIAm now can leave Dublin and go to CH07, but also come to Galway. The mayor was having a look at me when he said, "It's something right, I heard it is," he said. But to be honest with you, it will be the right accessible location, and that will be down to the HSE and Adam to find that right location. But what we're here tonight is about the trails, and the trails is for adults, it's for children, it's for families, it's for our students who come to embrace the third level educational opportunities here in the West. It's for the students that are doing their apprenticeships, it's for the students who want to come and enjoy. So we need to have it accessible, same chance for all. For the lads that are going to climb the 4 peaks in 24 hours in 4 different provinces, I absolutely salute you, 150%. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's also brilliant that you're bringing the AsIAm story on board, but you're also bringing Ability West, and Julia's sitting right there beside you, the CEO, on board on this story. I think it's so important that we also celebrate one of our main providers here in the West that families really depend on, and I depend on, and to actually have that positive communication about our provider, and actually then to have the story about what else is the funding being spent on? It's been spent on a cubby. It's been spent on a cubby that, in actual fact, is not going to go into a library that might be open to all of the time. It's not going to go into a sports hall that might be only open some of the time. It's actually going into a hotel, and other hotels and places like that. Actually, there's quarters that people can actually access 24/7, 365 days of the year. And the nice thing about the cubby, and I was looking at it earlier on, there's no lock in the cubby, there's transparent window that you can see through, but also that the parent can sit and have a cup of coffee, or that young adult that's in college, if they feel that they need space to regulate and they actually haven't got the opportunity, that they know that there's a trail there of where there's either sensory spaces or cubby spaces. So there's a lot going on here tonight in the whole conversation of what's going on. But you know, the wonderful part about it is we're still in Autism Awareness Month. We're still talking about autism. We're creating that awareness. We're delivering and working to the Same Chance report. Like every day I turn on my Instagram to see what is the Same Chances going to come today. Because the amount of work that has gone into it, to actually understanding the challenges and actually bringing that right to the forefront is so, so important. So it is great to have you here, all of you and your team that have worked tirelessly, not just today or yesterday, but for the last 10 years. I'm delighted to be partnering here beside Julie from Ability West to have that positive conversation about actually we're all working together, and we cannot work in silos anymore because silos don't work. We have to work together. And the wonderful thing about sport is Sport is one of the spaces that we should be creating that awareness where we can break down the silos and have that understanding. And I know there's a great story for Fergus to come to actually about hidden disabilities as well, and like not all of us have that total understanding, and that is the space that I have brought in about creating the opportunity. It's funny, I'm speaking here totally at limp because the department couldn't write me a note to come here tonight, and the reason they couldn't write me a note is that we've always done disabilities through a medical model. We've only ever seen disabilities as a medical space, whereas in actual fact it's far more than medical. It's social, it's inclusion, it's a participation, but it's about all strands of life. We all have health issues, but we also have a rights issue to actually participate with the same chance as everybody else. So that's what we're doing tonight in the room. It's great to have such partners. It's great to have it here tonight. Lorraine, thank you so much. I met her in Athenry the last day, and she flattened me with all the requests all of a shot, and I didn't know where it was coming from. But look, fair play, and thank you for leading out. I think nothing better than Galway businesses, nothing better than Galway Chamber to actually go to the forefront. And one thing that we are proud about ourselves, and I've been a good Galway woman from as far out east as you will get, is that we are a welcoming city, we are an inclusive city, and it is only right that we ensure that we lead by example. And do you know what, when you lead by example and you show what good is like, others follow. So let Galway be first up, best dressed, and lead out. Cllr Eddie.
Thank you, Minister. I think the floodgates are open there now about AsIAm coming out of Dublin. I have to let you in on the secret that I'm a Mayo man. And in a few days' time we're going to do battle in Salt Hill. So, and if I could also just mention, look, there's a lot of people in the room here tonight that are doing exceptional work, you know, within the community. And there's a man in here tonight as well who kind of, I suppose, all roads led to tonight with a man who has an identity crisis as well, from Craig's in County Galway or in County Roscommon, Niall Quinn, if he's there. Niall kind of put me in touch with a lot of people when I came into the organisation, and he has to be commended. And I've since got to know Lorraine and Fergus, and they're just fantastic people, and the people doing the great work in Galway Autism Partnership and Ability West is just fantastic. So without further ado, I'll hand you over now to the CEO and founder of AsIAm, Mr. Adam Harris.
Good evening, everybody, and it's an absolute privilege to be here tonight and to see such a fantastic turnout from right across the community on a Sunday evening. We know how busy everybody is, and I think the support and action here tonight really shows the momentum that exists that will mean we will achieve our goal over the coming months of supporting Galway to become a recognised, accessible, autism-friendly city. I want to say a huge thank you to Niall and to Lorraine and to the whole committee for all the work you've already done. I think I only met you for the first time a few weeks ago at the AAC devices, and you don't just talk a good game, you really deliver a good game, because the amount that has been achieved in that short space of time is amazing. But we're so excited by this initiative, to be part of it, to be supporting it. And indeed, it's great to see so many other partners in the room who've been doing fantastic work in this area and are going to be absolutely integral to the success of Galway as an autism-friendly city. It's great to see our friends and colleagues here from GAP, who I know do amazing work for families here in Galway City. I was delighted a few months ago, just before Christmas, I think, to be here for the launch of the sensory space in the University of Galway. And indeed to see so many other partners here in Ability West as well that are doing great work day in, day out to remove barriers for autistic people. For people who may not be familiar with the autism community by direct experience, or who may not have heard of AsIAm before, AsIAm is Ireland's autism charity, and our vision is to bring about a society in which every autistic person is accepted as they are, equal, valued and respected. And we do this, I suppose, by two means. On the one hand, by building capacity, providing the right support at the right time to autistic adults, to children and to families within our community. That includes, for example, our autism information line that the Minister referenced, that since we opened in late 2021 has supported over 7,500 families across the country. It includes our group-based support programmes that reach autistic adults and indeed children and families across the country. It includes support such as our AsIAm ID card, which enables people to self-advocate in public spaces. But I think what has made AsIAm unique or a little bit different, and I think really at the heart of what we do, is our belief that when we're talking about autism, we're fundamentally talking about an accessibility issue. And I think when we talk about accessibility, we very often only think about physical access. And perhaps that is because for most of the history of autism, we spoke about autism, but we didn't listen to autistic people. And very much as a result, we spoke about autistic people as the problem, autistic people as the people who needed to change, instead of recognising that if we're really serious about equality, if we're really serious about that buzzword that we hear so often about mainstream or mainstreaming, that means actually our community's changing. Inclusion isn't the permission to enter a building, it's having the same chance to access all that goes on in our community alongside those who are non-autistic. And I suppose that lived experience has been at the heart of everything that we have done over the last 10 years. I set up AsIAm myself based on my own experiences growing up as an autistic teenager, and I suppose as a teenager one of the things that I really began to realise was that if you were autistic, you very often had this huge sense of isolation. You felt that there was nobody else in the community who was experiencing the barriers that you were. But equally a sense, I suppose, that actually so many of the challenges that you face were nothing to do with being autistic, but were to do with actually others in the community not understanding, not accepting, not respecting those differences. And that's really, as an organisation, what we're trying to change. Over the last number of years, we've developed initiatives in schools, in workplaces, in local communities, as we'll talk about tonight, that aim to give the people the knowledge they need to identify these barriers that are very often invisible, but are very pervasive in the lives of autistic people, and critically to give people the knowledge they need to address those barriers, to realise that relatively small changes, adaptations that might cost an individual very little in terms of time or energy or resource, can be the difference between somebody who's simply surviving in the community or someone who's thriving in the community. Someone who's isolated and excluded at home, or someone who's fully involved and has the opportunity to participate in and to contribute to their community. So I think, one of the things we learned in AsIAm over the last decade is for the first number of years, we spent an awful lot of time trying to explain autism to everybody. And it's critical that people understand autism. But actually, fundamentally, what we need to help people to understand is actually the barriers that exist. While autism can be a complex subject for people to understand, I think what we can all understand is the simple principle that everybody deserves the same chance. And that's very much what we've tried to place an emphasis on in recent years. As has been alluded to, this initiative and the announcement tonight comes at an exciting time for our organisation and for our community. As has been mentioned, it is World Autism Month, and I think what's really important during this month is it is an opportunity to shine a light. It is an opportunity to centre the voices of autistic people and families. But also I think what's critical is sometimes people say to me, but it's Autism Month every day in my life. I encounter barriers every single day, and how is my life going to be different come May or June or July? Those barriers still exist. And I think that's perhaps for a long time we've replaced an emphasis on awareness, but really we need to get beyond that now. I was at an event today where somebody said, that the importance about kindness is that kindness isn't something you can do sitting on your couch at home. It requires action. And when we're talking about autism inclusion, we need everybody in the community to be active agents in terms of bringing this about. And I suppose as AsIAm marks its 10 years, as you can tell, we're very proud of the work that we've done, of the progress that we've made over the last decade. But we're also very conscious that that still means very, very little. Because the reality is, in Ireland today, autistic people continue to not have the same chance. So what I think is important about World Autism Month, I think what's important about times like our anniversary is it's actually a time to set ourselves a new challenge. It's a time to say, well, what does the Ireland of 2034 look like? We know from our report what the Ireland of 2024 looks like, but it's in our power collectively as communities to change that for 2034. As we often say, the barriers that exist don't have to be there. And that is why I suppose as we take stock over the last 10 years and look ahead to the future, we have very ambitious plans to really scale up the support we're delivering right across the country. It was great a few weeks ago to be here in Galway to launch our new AAC support programme that later this year will begin to distribute 550 devices to non-speaking autistic people across the country, a programme that we plan to build on over time. We're very much looking forward to continuing to deliver supports that we already have in the area. We have our child and family support groups, and my colleague Niamh, our child and family support manager, is here this evening, and we're delighted to be providing hangout groups in the Cllr Bridge area of Galway already. We're delighted that our career clinics that we're delivering support to 400 autistic people through this year have a particular focus on the West in terms of the targets that we've set. We were delighted, my colleague Amanda, who you'll hear from later on, to recently launch a parent support platform to help parents learn about visual supports and how they can be brought to life in a practical way in the family home and across every aspect of the community. And of course, what we're very, very excited to have announced through the very good support of Minister Rabbitte, that we are going to be opening over the course of the next decade a whole series of one-stop shops right across the country. And certainly every time I've talked to the Minister and I've had a long list of things that we need to change around autism in Ireland, she's also reminded me that we need to get out of Dublin. So that is now indeed coming to pass now, and we're delighted that our one-stop shop will open here in CH2 in County Galway before the end of the year. We're going to have 8 team members here providing practical supports to autistic children, to autistic adults, as and when they are needed, providing drop-in support, access to advice, group-based support programs, really, really providing a focus and building the capacity of autistic people here in the west of Ireland. And our ambition is that every community should have one. At the moment, in Dublin, in our support groups, we have people travelling from all across Ireland to access this support. And our vision is that people shouldn't be travelling. People shouldn't be bussed out of their community. People should be able to access this support in their locality, and that's what we're very determined to see happen over the period ahead. I want to acknowledge as well the fantastic work that we're doing beyond just the Autism Friendly City tonight. I want to say a huge thank you to the people who've committed to doing the 4 Peaks Challenge. I thought I was a great lad last year climbing Carrantooil for AsIAm once a year. I wouldn't like to be doing 4 peaks in a day, so you've really kind of upped the ante. But I think this won't just help us with our ambition in terms of the delivery of supports, but also I think it provides a critical opportunity to educate others in the community and to keep the conversation going as we come to the end of World Autism Month. And as Galway embarks on this exciting initiative, as you launch your trail here within the city this evening, it comes at the time of a real exciting period for our Autism Friendly Communities project. And we were delighted just a few weeks ago that William has started working with us. William has led an initiative in his own community in Ball in County Mayo along these lines, and now is going to support us over the coming year to work with 20 communities and counting who are starting out on that journey. What we started in the small town in Clonakilty in 2018, we're now at a point in time where we just came today from Dublin City, which back in November launched its ambition to become an autism-friendly capital city. And when you see what's possible when a community of people come together, how in a very short space of time barriers can be broken down. On St. Patrick's Day this year, 500,000 people on the streets of Dublin. For the first time ever, a relaxed space at the heart of the parade in College Green. 900 families able to access the parade for the first time. Many living only around the corner from the parade route, but who would have never even considered the idea that this would be an accessible experience for their family in the past. In addition, today we had Sensoria, the first neurodivergent specific festival celebrating our community, prioritising the support needs, the preferences, the wants of our community today, and we had 5,500 families together in Merrion Square Park in Dublin. So I do genuinely believe there's nothing that we can't achieve when we come together, and it's very clear, I think, from the momentum here in the room tonight, from all that's already happened, that Galway will see similar progress in the year ahead. And I'm a great believer in Ireland that there's nothing like a bit of healthy competition to keep people going. Very often we find when one town signs up, next thing the town down the road does, and next thing the town down the road does. And we very much hope that it is this momentum that will bring about a fully inclusive and accessible community for autistic people. Just to explain a little bit to the background to the programme, because if you haven't heard of the initiative before, I suppose you may not be familiar with what it is or how it was achieved. I suppose at its heart it's recognising the accessibility barriers that autistic people face. Accessibility barriers in areas such as communication, predictability, sensory processing, and critically the judgment and attitude of other people. Since 2018, 2 communities have now gone on that journey and achieved it, because obviously we had the pandemic in the middle. So we now have Clonakilty and Maynooth. And as I've mentioned, we have a huge cohort of communities right across the country, indeed a number here in the west of Ireland in County Mayo, working towards the standard. And I suppose really how it was born out was we began to see a lot of individual businesses, organisations implement things such as quiet times within their businesses. And they reported back that these were very, very small changes, but that they had a very clear benefit. That yes, they supported autistic people, but in actual fact, they helped others within the community as well. Whether that was people with sensory differences, whether that was people who English perhaps wasn't their first language, perhaps if it was people within the community who may also have had dementia. So actually by putting a focus on one community within our society, there's actually that opportunity to really universally design spaces that work better for everybody. And as we often say, what is essential for autistic people is very often good for everybody. So, you know, when we talk about creating a society that's calmer, that's more structured, that's more predictable, that's less judgmental, that's more inclusive, there is no downside to that. It simply is actually about building better, more prosperous, more sustainable communities for us all. So why is it important to create an autism-friendly community? So when we started, based on the autism-friendly shopping initiative in Clonakilty, we looked across the world, and there was lots of communities that had expressed an intention to become autism-friendly, but nobody had really documented it. It was kind of a statement of intent as opposed to meaning something. And we think it's really important when there is a momentum around something, when people are interested, that there's also transparency with it, that there's also clarity, that families know what to expect, that there's reasonable expectations of the support that people will receive. So we developed a framework within Clonakilty that required a certain number of organisations to sign up as champions and undertake training, put in place accessibility supports. We recognise that a community is more than the sum of the shops or the sum of the businesses within the community. So there's also that desire to create a town plan that listens to the priorities of autistic people in the community and makes progress over a period of time. I think a real problem in advocacy, you know, and AsIAm, key to our success so far has been a belief in partnership. We spend far too long talking to people who agree with us, talking to each other, it's speaking in echo chambers, where in order to bring about change, we really need to work in partnership across the community. So central to this is getting the key stakeholders around the table, whether it's the sporting organisations, the public services, the existing voluntary groups, because as I said, when we come together, it's incredible the progress that can be achieved. But the Minister said that, you know, when the department was preparing for this evening, this isn't the way that's been thought about when it comes to disability or autism. Very often we only get into a space of talking about services when we talk about accessibility. But I think our Same Chance report this year shows why this is so important, and shows that literally whether you're the butcher, the baker, or the candlestick maker, everybody in our community has a role to play in breaking down those barriers for autistic people. And don't take my word for it, take the word of the 1,700 autistic people represented in our Same Chance report this year, who told us that next only to access to services, judgment and attitude was the single biggest barrier to being included in the community, who told us 81% that social occasions in their life weren't accessible and inclusive, 86% believed being autistic was a barrier to making friends, and indeed that 83% felt as they went about their life in the community there was a need to mask or conceal their differences in order to get acceptance or to have the same chance to participate. You know, a vast majority of people said they felt they were treated different in a negative way within their community, and indeed worryingly 36% in the last year saying they've been discriminated against on the grounds of being autistic. Indeed, 38% saying they don't feel safe going about in their community as an autistic person. So that shows the scale of the challenge and the work we have to do together in order to remove it. Because I suppose, again, what's important, all those lists of barriers that I've just recited, and it's a long report, as the Minister said, so we could keep going. I think the important thing is none of them form part of the diagnostic criteria for autism. They're everything to do with how we respond to people in our communities who think differently. And while that can on one hand sound like very pessimistic data, I read it in a very optimistic way, because it means when we come together, we can knock down these barriers and we can give people the same chance. You know, when we think about attitudes to autism, it is important to say we've come a long way when it comes to autism awareness. Every year for Autism Month, we poll a representative sample of 1,000 Irish adults to say, what do you know, understand, think about autism? And it's very, very clear that the work that was much needed 20 years ago, 10 years ago to achieve awareness has largely been achieved. Over 80% of us are aware of autism as a diagnosis. More than half of us say we know somebody who is autistic. Many of us say that somebody in our family has an autism diagnosis. However, what we found this year was there's a huge gap between that awareness and action, and that's where we really, really need to bridge the gap. Don't get me wrong, people have hugely positive intentions. People say overwhelmingly they want to live in an inclusive community. They want autistic people to have the chance, the same chance. They see the benefits. They too say they'd like communication to be clearer. They'd like to know what's expected of them in work. They'd like to live in a community that was accepting and inclusive of all. But sometimes what people struggle with is, we've all heard that Irish adage that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And I think sometimes what people struggle with is putting that intention into action in the community. And if we just look at some of what the Irish public said this year, I think that's very clear. 57% of people said they wouldn't be comfortable having a conversation with somebody who didn't make eye contact. 54% of people said they're not comfortable in a conversation with someone who doesn't have a good understanding of personal space. 55% of people say they find it hard to be friends with someone who needs to stick to a rigid plan in a social situation. 64% of people agreed that if a child is frustrated or overwhelmed in a public place, then perhaps their parents just need to be a little bit stricter. Over a third of us say that, if a colleague in work asked us, would you mind sending me an email instead of speaking to me, that they'd see that as unprofessional. And I can go on and on in terms of these statistics, but what it does show is there's a huge body of work for us to bring an acceptance within our communities, and that's really what an autism-friendly community is all about. Everybody having access to the knowledge that they need. What's also so critically important is autistic voice. And indeed, one of the very positive things about the poll, it showed that if you knew someone who was autistic, you were much more likely to understand. You were much more likely to have progressive attitudes. And that's why representation really matters. It's why autistic voice really matters. I just want to say a special recognition tonight to Luke Ming, because I think you sharing your own story has been so important in recent weeks in terms of showing people what's possible, but also how normal these experiences are in our community and how we have to knock them down together. And we know that an autism-friendly community is not about charity. It's not about charity because it's about rights, it's about doing the right thing, but actually also building these communities that work for everybody has so many benefits. And we've seen that in Clonakilty. We've seen tourism on the rise. We've seen their story told all over the world. We've seen families come not always to just use these easier supports on a day-to-day basis. So yes, an autism-friendly community is about making day-to-day life that little bit easier. Those mundane tasks like going to the supermarket, getting a bus, joining a GA club, things that people take for granted but are often out of reach for our community. It is about making those things easier. But in a sense, I think it's about a much bigger piece. It's about what would it mean to live in a community that from the outset of your life says, we can see the barriers you face. We can see the level of adaptation and energy you have to make, and we want to meet you halfway. What can that do for mental health? What can that do for self-esteem? What can that do for people's life expectancy and quality of life within the community? So I suppose what's involved in this journey for Galway over the next period of time? There's the development of the town plan. There's really capturing the lived experiences of autistic people who live in this city and this county. AsIAm can't tell you what makes an autism-friendly city in Galway. Only autistic people living here can. And in the town plan, there's so many opportunities to explore those aspects of the community that are unique to life here in Galway, and where particular barriers or opportunities may be presented that indeed can be worked towards. It's really important to say an autism-friendly city or an autism-friendly town is not a destination. It's not we do this, we run up the green flag and we move on to the next piece. It's a journey, it's a constant process of improvement, and that's why we look at it over a 3-year cycle. What we understand as autism-friendly or accessible for autistic people in 2024 won't necessarily be our understanding in 2026 or 2027. It's about constantly learning, constantly listening, and constantly raising the bar. In a city the size of Galway, we need to recruit 60 autism-friendly champions. That's businesses, that's public services, that's voluntary groups who will undertake the training, who will work with the committee here to identify the small changes like we see in Operation Spades here already in the Clybaun Hotel that will make a huge difference for people within the community. And of course the community also needs to establish a steering group, develop that volunteer network. And I suppose critically that means we really need the support of everybody in the room here tonight and beyond to build that momentum and to get us to where we need to. Because as is often said, it takes a village to raise a child, but it certainly takes a whole community to ensure that autistic people have the same chance. So thank you so much. We so look forward to working with you, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for covering so much ground there. And again, I'll just reiterate that if anybody has any questions and wants more information about how to get involved in the committee, the Galway City Autism Friendly Committee, who I think are also planning on having a consultation at some stage in the coming weeks to have autistic voices to hear about what will make Galway City autism friendly. Put your name and your email on the registration sheet going out the door, or talk to me after, please. Next up, I'd like to welcome Julie Silk-Daly, the CEO of Ability West. Thanks very much.
Hello everyone. Well, I don't think there's any following Adam there, so forgive me. Well, well done, Adam. You're phenomenal, and your organisation is phenomenal, and I'm very proud to be here tonight. I'm very much welcome on behalf of Ability West, the initiative of the Galway City Autism Friendly. This will have a huge positive effect to organisations such as ours. So Ability West caters for approximately 550 people that we support across County Galway only. And just for clarity, Craig's is County Galway. And Ignite is here tonight. We're hoping to develop, I suppose to start, we currently have over 55 centres across County Galway, and those centres provide residential, respite, day services and hubs, so that people can remain working and living within their own communities. And we're hoping to develop a very exciting initiative down in Craig's that the Minister has supported us with, where we will try to mix both residential, respite and business hub at a later stage. So really exciting initiative there, and thank you, Minister, for the help so far. We're at the feasibility study now. So across the services then, we would provide a lot of services for respite for children, and I have to apologise, we just haven't had enough space and enough services. It's very challenging in the current climate in terms of staffing the services. And we've made great traction in this year. We've an additional 30 posts approved and crossed the line and employed. So we will hope that that will see improvements on the ground for many parents, many children whom we support. And excited today to see the Clybaun Hotel having the cubby. That's a fantastic initiative, and congratulations to you both for staying with the project. And we would hope to see that benefit our services in our respite centres. We've two fantastic respite centres, one out in Ballinasloe, one here on the Prom in Galway, and I could immediately see people really benefiting from that service, so thank you. To Fergus and Robbie, Peter tried to explain to me what you were doing. I actually climbed Patrick last year, and I thought I did very well. But to think you could do the 4 peaks in 24 hours, I thought you were doing one in 24 hours and then following a 24-hour break doing another one. So that's phenomenal. Peter, thank you very, very much. Our estates manager, Peter, has been phenomenally helpful in I think helping with the training, and I'm seeing him in a completely different light now today as to what he's capable of. But I can't thank you enough, and particularly Fergus, you've been with us before for Ability West, and so it's all of that money that we raise is used in a very positive way, and we certainly, it's great to see a hotel like this breaking down the barriers, and AsIAm, fantastic organisation. We'd love to work more closely with you and will in the future. So I'll leave it at that, and thanks very much. Enjoy the evening, everyone.
Thank you, Julianne. Next up, we're going to move on to the two bravest men in the room. I'd like to welcome Fergus Farrell and Robbie Kavanagh to tell us more about their 4 Peaks Challenge and their partnership with Ability West and AsIAm. Thanks, lads.
Thanks very much. All I can say is wow to all the talkers in front of me. We just want to, first of all, it's great to see AsIAM come to Galway, and I can't wait to see what they do. And Ability West, I don't know how many years you're here in Galway, working with the people of Galway. They're close to my heart. When I badly needed support, people from their organisation came out and walked with me and raised a lot of money, and it wasn't even for their charity. And since that day, I just find the organisation amazing, and we want to try and do as much as we can, so you can provide the best possible facilities and the best possible care for your people. I suppose I believe I'm a very lucky person. I was a very able person up until my 39 years of age. After that point, I became severely disabled, recovered thankfully from that, but now have a hidden disability. So over those course of 5 years, I believe I have a good insight into what it's like to have something that can, that when you are out there, the community ignores and chooses to avoid you because you're not the same. And with that insight, that's what drives me now to be here talking this and starting this challenge. And I have to say, I wouldn't be here without this man here. So I wouldn't, because we did 5 marathons last October in 4 days. And without his humour and his determination, I would have collapsed. And I know that's going to happen this 24 hours as well, without this man beside me. So I'm going to let him talk about the actual challenge and how you can donate to it and how you can make this bigger than it, more than it should be, okay?
Thanks for that, Fergus. Yeah, I suppose just to fall back on what Fergus was saying there, like, you know, I think you just mentioned that last October we did multiple marathons in a couple of days, which was great, and literally we're just out of the shower and I kind of turned to him, I said, what are we going to do next? Oh, talk about that tomorrow. He said, I already have an idea. I said, great, and we actually did talk about it the day after, and that was fine. And it started off at that point, and now it has escalated into this. This is the culmination of it, which was fantastic. We had several meetings over the last couple of months, which was brilliant. And I have to say to Lorraine, you know, since you came on board, it's been an absolute breath of fresh air, and it just got that little drive. So please. I genuinely mean that now. It's fantastic, and we're now at the point where we've launched, where we are 90% launched. We'll see what happens in the next 20 minutes. But we're ready to go. You know, it's a two-man team here with everybody else in our support network. We're not going to stop in here. You know, we're going to do something else in 6 months' time. But this is going to be absolutely fantastic. You know, for Ability West, it's close to Fergus's heart, as he said, and as I am. I see my friend and work colleague down there, Patrick Regan. You know, we've been talking about stuff, and over the last 2 months, I've got an awful lot of knowledge about what this is all about. Right, to be honest with you, I wasn't aware of the needs and the requirements and whatnot. So if myself and Fergus can dig deep for, you know, a couple of months, and kickstart is what the word that we're using. If we can kickstart something, you guys can bring it home. We'll be really looking forward to it. So what we will need people to do is we will need people to share the I Donate link. We're going to do it. That's a given. Like, we don't start something and not finish it. We always deliver. But we need to get the link out there. We need to get it shared. We need to get funds in so we can pass it over to you guys and you can bring it home. This is going to be the 3-year plan that you talked about, Adam, which is absolutely fantastic. As a Galway man, I'm delighted to hear you saying that. Now, I personally don't need the facilities, but I have friends who need the facilities. You know, I have colleagues who need the facilities, and Galway needs the facilities. You know, it's of the utmost importance. So please share, please donate, please put it out there, and let's bring it home.
Gee, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling motivated now. Our next speaker is the CEO and founder of Cubby. Please welcome David McIntyre to tell us more about Cubby.
I've got a deck, so sorry about that. I was the only one that came with something. I want to thank the Minister. I met her before. We had a long chat about autism and neurodivergencies and how they impacted people's lives a long time ago. And I was just telling Adam today that I went to see him a long time ago when I started this journey myself, about 8 years ago. He was giving a talk in Longford. And it's incredible what work he's achieved in 8 years. It's incredible. Back then, people didn't talk about autism. When my daughter was diagnosed, a lot of people were in severe denial about it. My own family, you know, she's not autistic. There's nothing wrong with her. You know, it was something wrong with us as parents that we actually pursued a label, etc., etc. So, well done, Ellen. It's been a great piece of work, and you should be very proud of it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Cubby. It's only about 25 slides. I'm goes in depth about the software, technology, my own personal journey, etc., etc. But really what we're about is participation. There's one word that describes us, is participation. And what does participation mean? Well, it's someone like Lorraine investing in a cubby, putting it front and centre in her hotel, telling people that they're welcome is number one. That they don't have that walk of shame to a room somewhere in the back with, which is inclusion. Participation is this front and centre. They can have breakfast together because it's front and centre. They can have dinner together because it's front and centre. And it's a 5 or 10 minute break that helps them regulate. We are in education, is our real focus. I myself am dyslexic, and there was significant barriers in front of my education. I spent a lot of my time outside the corridor, not in the classroom, and I really didn't want that for my daughter, I have a picture of her next to us, so just bear with me. We're in health, and what we're doing there is interesting. It doesn't need a person supervising it, so it's always available. And it's helping people get their clinics done, blood tests, side tests, and it's also helping people get assessments done, which is incredible. And on and on and on. Oh, Well's working. You might move it forward for me, please. It's all going great. And this is Ava. She was diagnosed at 2.5. And as I said, we walked into a training for sensory processing about autism, really. And a lot of parents were in denial, and they were talking about the barriers in school. A couple of things happened. I was asked to design a sensory room, which I believe of all things, I am a designer. And I was out of work at the time, I was just made redundant, and I couldn't figure out how it worked. So I developed a product that did work. And we're very proud of it, and it took a long time to get it where it is today. So next one, yeah. And that's what it is. It looks like a fridge, everybody tells me. That's fine. One student said it's a great place to chill out in. So we say that joke every time, so if you met me before, I'm sorry about that. It's technology driven, and the real innovation is they're all linked to an occupational therapist. And we have a team of occupational therapists that do an online assessment. It's very quick, and we create a sensory experience in matching the person's needs. And it's remarkable. Our data is showing, and we are data driven, shows that it's 89% effective straight away. And any programs that are not effective, the software generates a report to the team of occupational therapists as we assess and create a new sensory experience. So we have several different sensory experiences for one individual. They might need to be calmed in the morning or energized in the morning, and vice versa after the lunch break, usually at schools. The app is an innovation that we came up with because my daughter and I, after several years, went on a trip to Spain, and she was dysregulated for about the first 4 days. And because I'm the CEO and founder, I was able to do this, so I did. I created an app that allows me to travel with her sensory experiences. Unfortunately, they don't have a copy in Spain yet, but they will. Next slide, please. My clicker isn't working. And this is the network we've built so far. Again, they're all connected. So my daughter can go to any copy, type in her template, her number, and the experience starts for her straight away. And that she can travel to the UK now. We've actually had our first library in London take a copy in. And again, we're super proud to be in the hotels now. We see a big opportunity here. Libraries, etc., etc. So as I said, they're all connected. Next slide, please. And the incredible thing is who's using Cubby. When we started this project, we thought it was very autism specific. However, it's neurodivergent. Lots of people have sensory processing issues. About 15 to 16% of the whole population, I reckon. I know I turned down the radio when I'm parking the car. I was telling somebody that lately, and she said, well, my car actually automatically turns down the radio when I'm parking the car. I said, well, isn't that fancy? It's for everybody. We have rugby players using it. We have nurses using it in the hospitals. We have teachers using it. And it's actually creating a sensory well-being space more so than just for neurodivergent. And I was hoping that would happen because there's lots of stigma around disability. And when you think of a neurotypical person will use this product to ease anxiety as well, I hope that it creates a safe space for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. We're nearly there, folks. We're still under the hour, by the way, so we're going really well. And we've 2 more speakers to go, and the next speaker has been mentioned, I think, by every other speaker so far. The first time I met her, I don't know, I know a doer the minute I meet one, and Fergus is a doer. Lorraine Crimmins, you're an absolute doer, and we'd love you to come up and say a few words.
Turning away. There's a lot of fear down the back there because I could say anything. Thank you all for coming here tonight, and I suppose I'm just the facilitator. That's all. I met William, and the stories that I've heard in the last few weeks, even Fergus's story when I first met Fergus and Robbie, like, they've changed my life. You know, I don't claim to know everything. I think our hotels will make mistakes, but I think we're on the journey, and nothing will get done if we don't try. And so, like, all our managers here have taken training with AsIAM, and there's been amazing feedback from them. And I think that's it. It's just education. For me, it's about listening. So I don't know what it's like to have autism, and I don't know what it's like for my children to have autism. But I've listened to the people around me that have those experiences, and I've taken it on board. And it's really, really sad to think of how some people in society are treated. I don't understand it, and I'm grateful that I don't understand it, because I've nothing in common with that kind of narrative. I think we make allowances for so many people in life that we don't recognise anymore because it just is normal. Like, we make special menus for small children, for celiacs. We make high chairs available for babies. I just don't understand why we don't make the same kind of, allowances for people that have neurodivergent needs. There are small changes that we've brought into our properties. They were done not because of any of this. This just organically happened. But it was because of our staff. We wanted to be a more inclusive space, more welcoming to everybody, including our members of staff. We have a nice little community here, and they're great, so I may be standing here, but I can guarantee you that they're doing the work. So I don't really have anything to say. I brought you all here. I'm really looking forward to working together with you. I will get it done. If you give me a task, I will get it done. But I could not do it without GAP, without Ability West. I couldn't do it. Michael has been amazing. He's been really, really good. I'm not from Galway myself, so I couldn't have done it without, local support. And I'm delighted. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and actually getting our plan in place and, making a difference. And 60 businesses. There's plenty of businesses in Galway. We'll surely get 60 of them on board. Absolutely. No better woman. There'll be posters up there barring me from the city centre. Thank you so much for coming, and no doubt you'll be sick of my face soon enough.
Thanks so much, Lorraine, and thanks for having us here tonight, and to all the staff for just absolutely terrific, just made everybody feel at home and welcome here tonight. I don't know if everybody got a chance to see coming in to the hotel tonight. If you come into the lobby on your right hand side at the check-in desk, there's a beautiful communication board. It's actually worth taking a look at there. I think it's beautiful, and my colleague Amanda, who's going to speak next, thought the same. And if everybody leaves this room tonight with as much enthusiasm as Lorraine has, I think we'll go a long way in Galway City. So to wrap things up tonight and to hear some lived experience of autism as a mother, as an autistic person as well, and as my colleague and as I introduce Amanda McGuinness.
I'm going to time myself because I do like to talk, so I'll try and keep it as short as I can. I suppose you've heard my name, I'm Imelda Byrne. I have the great honour of working for the incredible Adam Harris. I suppose what I'm really just going to speak about as quickly as I can and not go off script too much because I actually plan to speak, so if I stumble, forgive me. I suppose I'm going to talk about, I suppose my children, or what I like to call my little puddings. So the little guy there with the chocolate, I suppose sensory munt that he's playing with is my gorgeous Max. Max is 6 now. That's my lovely Jack, who is 10 now, and my gorgeous Connor, who is just turned 14. He looks quite young there, but he's actually about 6 foot now and head of, I would nearly call curls, and my gorgeous Hayley, who is now 16. So my 3 sons are autistic like myself, and my daughter Hayley is not. And I suppose what I thought of tonight more than anything is that the sharing of experiences really is the most important piece. You know, Adam spoke about his reasoning for starting AsIAm. Everybody, including, and I have to say a huge thank you to Cllr Eddie, and she's just a powerhouse. Everybody everybody is here because they all want to do the right thing, and the right thing really is, when Adam talks about, you know, the same chance and autism friendly, really I would call it humankind and being human friendly and accepting everyone as they are, or as I am, hashtag as I am. But I suppose what I'm going to talk about now is just family experiences of before there was AsIAm. And even now there is AsIAm, so as much work as we have done in AsIAm, there's so much more work to do. So I mentioned my gorgeous Connor in the red top there. That's in the homeschool room in our house that we created for the boys to, I suppose, help support them and help them thrive. So Connor actually was the youngest child in County Mayo ever identified as autistic. So he's 14 now, but he was identified before he was 1. And I suppose I always say when I talk about Connor was that he helped to lift the veil for me about what it means to be a human being. Because I didn't realise before Connor was born that people treated other people not, I use the best language that I can use, not kindly when they find out that a person is different, or maybe sometimes it's obvious that they're different. And for me that happened about 2 weeks after my gorgeous Connor was identified. So he was identified in Mayo General Hospital, and the way he was identified was that I had been going to and from, you know, doctors and things and saying, my son, I'm one of 11 as well actually, so I'm the oldest girl of 11 children, so I've seen a lot of children in my time. And I knew that Connor was different, and I didn't know how I could help him. And actually spent a lot of time in Galway because he didn't sleep. But I knew that if I drove the car, I didn't understand sensory difference like I do now. But I knew that if I drove the car, he would sleep. Motion helped him sleep. And I spent a lot of time in Galway City at the night time, just driving around. So Connor then was identified when I brought him to the hospital. He had a related bowel difference, and when I brought him to the hospital, at this point I was exhausted because he hadn't really slept, my gorgeous boy. When I brought him to the hospital, I brought him to casualty. And I said, you have to take my son, and you have to tell me what's going on for him, because I can't continue. I don't know what to do to help him. But more than anything, I know there's a difference there, but if you could just tell me, then I know what it is. So eventually he was identified up on the baby ward in Mayo General Hospital that particular week. And then I thought, this is great now. Can you tell me how to help him? And the incredible consultant said, well, you just take him home and love him. And I said, but I'm doing that, how do I help him? And she said, well, you just take him home and love him. And I thought, that doesn't help me. And then I looked online, and this is before the incredible AsIAm, there was nowhere, there was nothing for me to know. I didn't really know anything else about autism at that time, and I lived in an area of Mayo where there wasn't barely even dial-up internet. But about 2 weeks later, and I should say as well, Connor didn't walk till he was much older. I know now that's because of a related condition. He can walk fine now, but at the time he wasn't. And he was non-speaking. So about 2 weeks later, after he'd been identified, I went into a local, I suppose, family store in Castlebar to get pantses for Connor, because he used to move around on his gorgeous knees, kind of hopping around a bit to move around. So he'd always wear out the knees of his pantses. And excuse my language, I'm going to give the language that was said to me. I was in the store buying the pantses, and a lady came over to me that I wouldn't have seen since I was in secondary school. She was a few years older than me. She said, oh, Amanda, I'm so sorry, I heard about Connor. And I thought, what does she mean, church? And I didn't really know what she meant. And I'm also autistic myself, and I was like, did I meet this lady? And I was like, oh, socially, maybe I missed something that I said or not said. And she said, well, I said to Mom, and excuse my language, I do apologise, these were the words that were used. She said, I said to Mom, it's okay, he's not a complete vegetable, at least he can walk. But the thing was, he couldn't actually walk, and she didn't know that. And of course, I had these navy pants, if you ever saw them in the boys section of Dunnes Stores, and I just said, I'm terribly sorry, I have to go. And I put them down, and I scurried away home to my mom. And she said, where are the pants? And my mom can't write. And I said, I told her what happened. She goes, that's it, I'm getting in the car. And where do they live? And I said, Mom, if you get in the car, it's going to end badly for everyone, including the lady. So I said, it's fine, Mom, it was just a once-off, that's okay. But as I learned as the years went on, when each of my other gorgeous boys were born, was that it wasn't just a once-off. These things were happening all of the time. A number of years later, I was leaving an actual supermarket in Castlebar. And I had my gorgeous Hayley, who might have been about 5 at the time. I was holding her by the hand. I was pushing my gorgeous Connor in the trolley, and I was really excited for him because it was his first day kind of being able to go into the supermarket. We had, I think it was like a green and yellow tractor that you could get kind of in Tesco. But when we were leaving the side of Tesco, there was a group of younger individuals. And Connor, again, non-speaking, but would make lots of kind of noises with his mouth, and I would know what they mean. So he was communicating in his own way. So he was making his noises letting me know that he was happy, and I thought, this is really great. But the people at the side, and again, I would say maybe teenage, maybe a little bit older, they were saying, oh my God, he's a R with the word I won't say. And then they started to make the sound of what he was making. They were like, oh, look at the R, look at the R. And I was holding Hayley's hand, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. And I got into my tiny Minecraft, and I popped Hayley in a collar in, and I have to apologise to Tesco, I abandoned the trolley, didn't return it. The trolley was there. But I drove away crying, and I put on the sunglasses, and I was like, oh my gosh. And Hayley was like, Mom, why are you wearing sunglasses? And I know first of all, she said, why did you rush to the car? And I said, it was going to rain. And being the clever girl that she is, she said, but why are you wearing your sunglasses? And I was like, I was trying to find a reason, trying to calm myself. And she said, is it because of what the boys were saying? And I was like, don't know, what did you think? She said, she repeated the word. I said, well, that's not a kind word. And she said, I know it's not a kind word because they were laughing at my her little brother Connor. And I said, that's right. A number of years later then, during Autism Month, and the reason I'm telling you this is showing that over the span of 14 years, although we've learned so much as a community, there's still so much more work to do, and that's why it's incredible to have this beautiful city of Galway and the incredible Lorraine Crimmins and all of the individuals supporting her to make Galway autism friendly. A number of years later then, I was on the Late Late Show with my gorgeous Jack, talking to Ryan Tuberty during Autism Month. It was a really positive piece. There was myself, Jack, there was a principal and his son, and there was, a college student, all talking about autism really positively. And I was just saying, you know, we just want everyone to have the same chance, just to be humankind, to give everyone the same chance to exist and coexist. Again, I've been back up in 2 weeks. About 2 weeks later, a letter came to the house, and it just said Amanda McGuinness Mayo, because I'm from Mayo for Sam, by the way, get the opportunity to put it out there. But anyway, it said Amanda McGuinness Mayo on the envelope, and I just thought, it's one of those letters where it just says, you know, this, that, and the other. I thought, whatever. First of all, I also thought, postman needs pay rise. It just said Amanda McGuinness Mayo, and it got to me. But when I opened the letter, it was a handwritten note from somewhere in the country, from someone who had watched myself and Jack on the Late Late Show, and what I'm about to say, and I'm using the most positive language that I can. And the letter said, essentially, that how stupid was I to have had one child with autism, that I didn't do away with him the day that he was born. But how stupid was I to have gone on to have had 2 more of, and I won't say the language that they used to describe the boys. And I'm not saying this information to make you think, oh gosh, that's terrible. I'm saying I can tell you on a national platform that these things happen, but there's families, individuals like myself, autistic, they're having these horrendous experiences every day of the week, and that's why the work that you're doing is nice, but it's so important, because it's changing lives and will change lives into the future. Then more recently, my gorgeous Max, I'd enrolled him into an activity that was advertised as autism friendly, and I was told it would be the most autism friendly event you can imagine. I thought, this is wonderful. I'd never taken a chance for one of my boys to go to, I suppose, kind of a preschool type activity, because Connor, my eldest son, had tried to go to an activity. The person that was caring from there, unfortunately, mistreated him. So I avoided then sending any of my kids. But this particular event was being advertised as autism friendly, and so I thought, okay, we'll try it this time. So I sent my gorgeous Max. But about 3 days into the autism-friendly activity, we were called by the person that was running it and said, take him away. The words that she used were that she was discharging essentially his trash, and to take him away, that it wasn't for him, that he might find something better for people like him. And I'm not telling you any of these stories to make anyone feel sad or anything for me. What I'm saying is they're happening all of the time. You're just not hearing them because there's not random people from Mayo like myself getting the chance to talk into a mic and telling you those. The final piece I'll say, and I'll get off the stage then, is that, and I think Adam has alluded to it, and the incredible Minister Rabbitte and everybody else has spoken afterwards, it's not just for myself as a parent or for my autistic children, it's a whole family experience. Hayley was there, I was there, because we've all been there. My daughter Hayley, about 3 years ago, was singing on the Late Late Show, Toy Show with Ed Sheeran. So she was very lucky to sing with Ed Sheeran and a load of other family carers, choirs, there's different choirs, and she was just very lucky to have got to sing with them. She went into school then the following Monday, and unfortunately the people that had been her friend group, dropped her and said, you only got to do that because your brother is an R. So I said, oh, thank you. Dry voice, you only got to do that because your brother is an R. And then everyone kind of blacklisted her essentially then, so she had to find before. Sorry. I do apologize. So I suppose I'm not telling you that information, despite my now wobbly voice, to make anyone feel bad, but just to say that the work that AsIAm do, and I say that as an autistic person, but also as a parent, is so meaningful. The incredible work of Minister Rabbitte and all of the individuals that you heard speak this evening, and in particular, Lorraine, my heart, thank you so much. The work is not just nice, or it's a nice thing to do, it's so meaningful. You're literally going to and are, and the two individuals, I lost a shoe on actually, Paul Patrick, if you do find it, someone is, I can't imagine, it's still up there, it's from 4th year. No, it was actually from Dunn's, which would be.
You probably have time for 5. Pick it up.
If you could, there was a few goats, so they made it. But the point is, the work that you're doing, that we can have a laugh, but it's so meaningful. And just to say thank you, it's not a small thing you're doing, it's an incredible thing. And the work of everyone else, so thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Amanda, and I think that was a very fitting way to end the evening. Profound, real, not a box-ticking exercise. That's the voice of advocacy that we need to hear, and I know there's other people in the room that have shared experiences like that, and feel free to stay on and mingle and share those experiences, the ideas. Like I said, in the coming weeks we'll have a consultation in Galway City to try and get some ideas of what would be good in Ayr Square and the perimeters, and the Galway Autistic Trail is in its infancy, but I think it's a great idea for those social stories that businesses and public services, particularly around the transport side of things in town here, that we get a map, so it'd be great. So, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.